breaking news. Secretary of State Marco Rubio right now, and you can see all the cameras around him, along with the Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, about those airstrikes against narco-terrorists. Let's watch. There's a hearing today.
Designated terrorist organizations, cartels, bringing weapons meaning drugs, to the American people and poisoning the American people for far too long. So we're proud of what we're doing, able to lay it out very directly to these senators and soon to the House. But it's all classified. We can't talk about it now. We're also going to tomorrow allow the HASC and SASC to see the unedited video of the September 2nd, alongside with Admiral Bradley, who has done a fantastic job, has made all the right calls, and we're glad he'll be there to do it. But in keeping with long-standing Department of War policy, Department of Defense policy, of course we're not going to release a top-secret, full unedited video of that to the general public. HASC and SASC and appropriate committees will see it, but not the general public.
Alrighty, so getting a little preview of that classified briefing that's happening today on those strikes on boats, part of the push by the president against narco-terrorism that has dumped so many illicit drugs, including a lot of fentanyl, on our shores and throughout our country. The cartels are having to come to a creeping halt or face the wrath of our military. Much of, about 25% actually, of what we've got to put in that area is off the shore of Venezuela. It's an answer back to the killing and to the movement of drugs. So you heard, and we've got right now Senator Lindsey Graham on the same topic. Let's go. Let's watch.
In 1994, President Clinton took down the military takeover, the junta, the generals who took over Haiti, and brought back civilian control of Haiti. He was right to do that. Bush 41 was right to clean up Panama. Trump is right to deal with a narco-terrorist state called Venezuela. Maduro is not a legitimate president. He's actually head of one of these terrorist organizations, and I am glad that we're taking him on. But here's my concern. You got 15% of the Navy pointed at this guy. If he's still standing when this is over, this is a fatal, major mistake to our standing in the world. If after all this, Maduro is still in power, that's the worst possible signal you could send to Russia, China, Iran. So I ask the question, what happens when he leaves? And they say that this is counter drugs. It'd be nice if he left. That's not a good answer. I want to reassert again, you cannot allow this man to be standing after this display of force. And I did not get a very good answer as to what happens next.
Why not release this video to the?
I think it should be.
Is it a mistake? Is it a mistake?
I think the video should be given to everybody in Congress.
Do you buy their explanation that it's because of sensitive information or equipment? Why should at least 100?
You know, the least of my concerns is this friggin' video. Release it, make your own decisions. This is lawful. I have every confidence that what they're doing is no different than what Bush did. Nobody in the Congress accused the military leadership under President Bush 41 of being a war criminal for invading Panama without congressional authorization.
But by not releasing the video, are they feeding into those attacks?
No, the video, I don't think most Americans give a damn about the video. I'd like all of us to see it. Most Americans are going to know what's going to happen next. I want to know what's going to happen next. Is it the policy to take Maduro down? It should be if it's not. And if he goes, what's going to happen next? I'd like a better answer as to what happens when Maduro goes.
Graham, isn't that the essence of the point that you talk about what happened in 89?
Yeah.
That was a limited operation with Angola Noriega. Happened about a month. 80 more limited. We've been doing
limited? You took the what that you called it? Wait a minute. 1989 wasn't a limited operation. We literally invaded the country, took the president in power, and put him in jail. That's not limited. It doesn't matter the duration. The point is we have legal authority, in my view, to do in Venezuela what we did regarding Panama and Haiti. The question is, how long does it take? It's not an issue for me. If you want to stage this thing, fine. But I want to address the question, is it the goal to take him out? If it's not the goal to take him out, you're making a mistake.
Senator, is it regime change to take him
Yes.
Before killing him.
All right,
I
we
don't
want to
care.
pull back now. We
Just
heard a
as long as
question
he
there
leaves.
by our reporter Chad Pergram getting deeper into
I'm saying
the
if it's
comparison
not,
that Senator Lindsey Graham
it's a
has
huge
begun to make
mistake.
today, or maybe he has been making it, but it's public now, from what Bush 41 did in the late 80s with Panama and going in and doing what he had to do without pre-authorization from Congress, and how this is that level of emergency and level of intent. And as Lindsey Graham just said, this is lawful. And then he was asked about that video that people want to see on the boat strikes against narco-terrorists. You know, there was the one strike, and then they went back and hit again. And so there is some disagreement, although the Secretary of War has made it very clear that was what it was. It's the war. It's so on and so forth, the war against narco-terrorism. But some people want to know, well, was that legal to hit that boat twice? Look, they can go around in circles on it if they want. According to Lindsey Graham, this is lawful. Release the video. He said we all want to see it. Then we can move on. Senator John Cornyn, Republican of Texas, Senate Intelligence Community. This is a full Senate briefing today. And from what you heard, how do you think this will go?
Well, I thought the briefers, Secretary Rubio, Secretary Hegseth, and others did a good job of explaining the careful planning that went into these strikes and the legal justification, which is consistent, as Senator Graham has said, with other previous interventions by other administrations in the region. Cocaine, fentanyl, these are weapons of mass destruction being trafficked by designated terrorist organizations. And I haven't heard the same degree of concern for Al-Qaeda and ISIS and other terrorist organizations in the Middle East when we took some of them out through some of these drone attacks. So I was satisfied with what I heard, and I'm glad President Trump is doing what needs to be done in order to save American lives.
And I believe you're pointing to former President Barack Obama when you're bringing up some of those strikes, correct?
That's right. That's right.
Look, let's talk about the importance of this video. You know, some people say that it will show that we, broke some sort of international laws by going after the enemy in that way. Do you want the video released? Lindsey Graham said yes, release it.
My default is always for more transparency, because if you don't release it, then there's more conspiracy theories and people wondering about why you're hiding it. So that would be my preference, but Secretary Hegseth made clear he doesn't intend to release it to the public, but he will brief individual senators with on committees of jurisdiction conducting legitimate oversight.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.